Okay, so how are we going to mark your report? Well, this is the marking criteria that we use when we're marking these Aspirin reports. So this comes from last year and there will be some changes, but these are the criteria that you will have to meet. So as you can see here, the first part you need to kind of pass is that you must have at least 750 words in your report. I mean, I've said 800, but it can't be any less than, okay? No less than 750, otherwise you won't pass, okay? So that's the first one, and we'll give you yes or no, have you got that, okay? Part two, okay, if I just move it down a bit. Sorry, P3, P2, okay. Does your report include detailed scientific content within your discussion? So you can't, for example, just look at the history of aspirin without looking at anything scientific, something to do with the chemistry, something to do with the molecules that you're talking about. We do want you to include some chemistry in there. And as with any research, there should be a question asked. As you know, the title of your report, if you like, and you should try and answer that question within your report. By using all the source of information that you're looking at, you should be trying to answer a question, and that's obviously something that we'll be looking at. Okay, the next section, okay, have your sources of information, has there been any kind of analysis of the validity and the bias of them? So there is a PowerPoint on this later on that you can look at, but we want you to consider who has written the information that you're looking at. So is it been written by a doctor of philosophy? Is it written by someone who's just got a blog page and you don't know what their qualifications are? So really thinking of whether are your source of information valid? And you know, if it's been written by a particular pharmaceutical company, could there be any bias in it? Could it be written in such a way that it's trying to influence the reader? So have a think about bias and validity as you write your report. Okay. The next thing to consider is, have you used a suitable number of references? So, you know, in order to do research properly, you do need to look at what is out there in terms of, you know, what information is available. And one way of kind of considering, you know, the one above, the bias, etc., is to make sure that you look at a number of different sources to see whether one particular one is biased or not. But a suitable number should be used, and we say at least 3, and it needs to be a mixture and a range of different types of references. So you can see the P5 there, a range of references used, you know, books, journals, websites, etc. So not just 3 blogs, not just something from the RSC, not just one source of information. We're looking at you getting a range of information using different sites and different sources of information. And then we're going to be looking at references. How have you written out your references? It's really important you get it done clearly and in a way that is standard, okay? So have they been cited correctly? And there's a PowerPoint on this, and there is advice on Moodle where we've put the OCR guide to referencing, so that might really help you. But there are standard ways, and what you should be doing is using either Harvard or a numerical Vancouver method of referencing. So that has to be done properly. So within your report you use the right referencing citations at the end, and also within the report they are quoted in the right way. So that's something that we want to make sure is done properly and clearly, and it is one of the practical skills that you need to pass your PAG. Okay, so that's something we'll be looking at very carefully. Now the other criteria here is to do with the risk assessment, and obviously you can be getting on with the risk assessment for the practical work as at home. Because what we have is on the Moodle site, there are all the chemical data sheets that you'll need to make your aspirin. So if you look through some of the reports that I have put into your team notebook files, you will see there are some copies of some risk assessment for practical to do with aspirin. So you will need to have a complete risk assessment with all the hazards recorded and all the necessary control measures to go with that. Okay, and that's something. So certainly the first 9 criteria for the report can be done before you actually make any aspirin. Okay. The last 3 are all to do with practical work. So you see, obviously, there's evaluations of the practical and reflection on procedures, etc. So those last 3, obviously, you're not able to do at the moment until you've actually been in the lab and made the aspirin. But we expect your report to come in without those 3 criteria by the 1st of June. Okay, so that's something to kind of think about.